Before you decide what I am worth, you should first understand whose table you have been eating from.
Today, we take our son David from the shame of poverty and join him with people of his level.
Say the truth, that you chose glitter you did not earn over gold that grew slowly in your own soil.
African Karma Stories.
The sitting room of the Mwangi family compound was packed so tightly that even the walls seemed to be listening. Old carved chairs circled a low table. On one side sat the elders, uncles and aunties wrapped in heavy kaitanj, walking sticks resting by their knees. On the other side, Tasha and her polished parents gleamed like magazine pages, perfume heavy in the air. At the far end of the room sat David. His new suit looked borrowed from a richer future. His eyes looked as if they wanted to be anywhere else. Beside him, in a simple flowered dress and flat shoes, sat his wife, Njeri. Her hands were folded in her lap, but her spine was straight. Uncle Juma, the loudest elder, banged his stick on the tiled floor. Today, he declared, voice booming, we correct the mistake of youth. Today, we take our son David from the shame of poverty and join him with people of his level. Several elders hummed in approval. Tasha smiled politely, her red lipstick bright. Njeri's heart pounded, but her face remained calm. We thank God, Tasha's father said smoothly. Our daughter has just come back from London. She deserves a husband whose family understands progress, not village confusion. A few aunties chuckled under their breath, glancing at Njeri. Uncle Juma turned to her at last, eyes cold. Njeri, he said, you have eaten in this home long enough. You came with nothing but a cheap suitcase and village English. We allowed that temporary arrangement while David was still struggling. But now, God has opened higher doors. It is time for you to go back to your people and let real marriage be done. A small envelope lay on the table, transport and appreciation, as they called it. All eyes rested on her, waiting for tears, begging a scene. Instead, Njeri slowly rose to her feet. She reached into the worn handbag at her side and pulled out a thick folder, its edges slightly frayed from frequent reading. Without a word, she walked to the center and placed it gently on the table, right on top of the little envelope. The thud of its weight silenced even Uncle Juma. She looked around the room, meeting each eye in turn. Before you decide what I am worth, she said quietly, you should first understand whose table you have been eating from. The elders frowned. Tasha's mother raised a perfectly drawn eyebrow. David's eyes widened, a flicker of fear and something else, shame, crossing his face. Njeri opened the folder. Documents, stamped and signed, gleamed under the overhead light. The room held its breath, and the story stepped back in time to show how they had all reached this moment. That same morning, a softer light had filled a much smaller sitting room at the edge of town. Njeri stood at the tiny gas cooker, flipping chapatis, steam fogging the small window. Outside, her vegetable plot stretched toward the dusty road. Neat rows of sukuma, tomatoes, and onions. David, your tea will get cold, she called over her shoulder. He sat at the table in a crisply ironed shirt, staring at his phone. Messages popped up one after another. Uncle Juma, remember it's today. Don't embarrass us. Tasha, can't wait to see you later. He turned the phone face down quickly as Njeri turned with a plate. She placed chapati and scrambled eggs in front of him. I got an email last night, she said, excitement making her eyes shine. The exporter from Mombasa replied. They liked the packaging photos I sent. They want to talk about a contract for next season. That's good, he murmured, not really hearing. She sat opposite him with her own plate, watching him. You're quiet, she said gently. Is everything okay at the office? Office is fine, he replied, forcing a smile. Just stress. Big clients, you know. The kind of stress that makes you come home smelling like different perfume, she asked softly. He stiffened. That was from a client meeting, he said quickly. Please don't start. She held his gaze for a moment, then looked down. I'm not starting, she whispered. I'm just scared we're not walking together anymore. He pushed his chair back abruptly. I have to go, he said, grabbing his jacket. We'll talk later. The door closed behind him. Njeri stared at his untouched tea, feeling a heaviness that had nothing to do with the weather. Later that day, in town, the Mwangi parents' sitting room buzzed with elder energy. Doilies covered every surface. Wedding photos of distant cousins hung on the walls, most of the brides in gleaming white, none in simple village dresses. David sat on the edge of the sofa between his mother and Uncle Juma. Mama David twisted her fingers in her lap. I'm not saying the girl is bad, she began cautiously. Njeri has a good heart. She woke up at 4 to cook for us during the last Harambe. Uncle Juma snorted. Good heart does not sign contracts, he snapped. Look at David. Bright, hardworking, a man with big opportunities. How can his wife still be digging in the soil like grandmother? These days, a man must walk with a woman who matches his level. One who can stand with him in front of investors, another elder chimed in. Not one who smells of fertilizer. They chuckled. David shifted uncomfortably. Njeri is building something too, he protested weakly. Her farm is not small. Juma waved a dismissive hand. Those small sakuma beds behind her house, he scoffed. Children's play. I'm talking about real money, real connections. He leaned forward, eyes gleaming. My friend Kamau, he said, lowering his voice as if revealing a secret, has a daughter. Tasha just came back from London. Degree in business. Her father owns trucks, warehouses, land. They're looking for serious man from respectable family. They have seen your pictures. They are interested. David swallowed. Tasha is very modern, Mama added reluctantly. She speaks English like TV. When she visited church, the pastor said her voice sounds like international. She is the type, Juma concluded, who can open doors Njeri cannot even knock on. With a marriage like that, your business would fly. Contracts, tenders, introductions. You could expand your logistics company instead of begging for one small deal. David stared at the floor. What about Njeri? He asked quietly. We will handle it, Juma said firmly. The first marriage was done small in the village, without full family consent. It was more like trial. You have tried. Now it's time for serious arrangement. Mama David Sigid, Torn. David, she said softly, you know I love Njeri, but your uncles are not wrong about the opportunities. He closed his eyes briefly. Let us meet this Tasha first, Juma insisted. No one is forcing you yet. Just come for lunch at their house on Sunday, he urged. After that, your eyes will open. David nodded slowly, feeling the net tightening around him. He told himself it was only lunch, only talk. It wouldn't change anything. He had no idea how quickly elders' talk can become chains. Years earlier, the world had been much simpler. Dust rose gently behind Njeri and David as they walked along the narrow path from the village well, buckets balanced on their heads. The sun was beginning to set, painting everything in soft orange. You walk too fast, Njeri complained playfully. Do you want to break my neck before I finish paying for these jerkins? David laughed, slowing down. Sorry, he said. My mind is already in Nairobi. In Nairobi doing what? She teased. Chasing potatoes? Driving them at first, he admitted. Owning them later. She grinned. Mr. Mwangi Transport Services, she said, trying out the name. It sounds big. It will be big, he replied. I'll start small, but one day, companies will call me to move their goods. I'll employ drivers, mechanics. Our children will never know what it means to count coins just to buy soap. She smiled at his hour. And me? She asked. What will I be doing in this kingdom of lorries? He looked at her fondly. You, he said, you'll be the queen of vegetables. Your stall will grow into shop, your shop into warehouse. You're the only person I know who can make sukuma sound like treasure. She laughed. That is because you have not tasted it from other people, she said. They boil it until even the soil cries. They reached her family's small plot. Rows of cabbages and kale shone with evening dew. Njeri set her bucket down, stretching. Sometimes the elders say village girls should marry village boys, she murmured. They say you dream too big, that you'll leave me behind. He stepped closer, wiping sweat from her brow with his hand. Let them talk, he said firmly. I'm not marrying Nairobi. I'm marrying you. We rise together or not at all. Her eyes shimmered. Promise? She whispered. He hooked his little finger around hers, the way they used to as children. Promise, he said. In that moment, the future seemed clear, golden, and kind. Neither of them could see the shape of the elder's shadows stretching quietly toward that promise. The years that followed tested those promises. At dawn, long before the first rooster crowed, Njeri would slip out of the small room they rented near town. She walked to her rented plot at the village edge, plastic sandals slapping the dusty ground, stars still bright overhead. She hauled water from a nearby stream, her arms aching as she poured bucket after bucket into furrows around tender seedlings. By the time the sun rose, sweat already soaked her dress. Later, she loaded bunches of sukuma, tomatoes, and onions into a borrowed handcart and pushed it to the market, breath coming in steady puffs. Fresh sukuma, sweet tomatoes. Come, my mother's, she called, forcing a smile even when her feet throbbed. Some days, she sold everything and came home with notes in her pocket. Other days, the market was slow and she returned with half the vegetables wilted, half her heart heavy. In the evenings, after counting the day's profits, she would sit on the floor with David, spreading the money between them. How much is for rent? She'd ask. He'd set aside a few notes. How much for your bus conductor uniform? She'd ask next. A little more. How much for my new shoes? She'd joke. They'd both laugh before she pushed the remaining coins toward him. Use it to register for that business course, she'd say, or to fix the tire on the Matatu. We'll manage with one pair of shoes. He always protested. You're the one walking up and down, he'd argue. Take something for yourself. She would shake her head. There is time, she'd reply. Struggle now, rest later. At night, when he fell asleep snoring quietly, she would sit up in the dim light of a single candle, writing rough budgets in an old exercise book. Year 1, David finishes course. Year 2, he gets better job. Year 3, we buy our own tuk-tuk, she scribbled. Her own dreams, expanding the farm, learning agribusiness, sat quietly at the edge of the page. She tucked them away for later. Later, she told herself, will be kind. When they finally married, the wedding was simple, but beautiful in its own way. The small church in Njeri's village was decorated with ribbons someone had used the previous month and washed. Plastic chairs lined the aisle. The choir sang off-key but with heart. Njeri wore a borrowed white dress altered by a local tailor. David wore his best shirt and trousers, pressed until the iron almost burned them. Mama David dabbed tears with the edge of her lasso. Thank God, she whispered. My son will not be lonely in this hard world. After the ceremony, they moved to the compound for food. Plates of polo, chapati, and stew disappeared quickly. Children ran around, kicking up dust. In one corner, under the shade of a mango tree, Uncle Juma leaned toward another elder. You know, this is just arrangement of poverty, he muttered. Let the boy rise. When money comes, we will find him a wife who fits the new level. The elder chuckled. True, he agreed. These love marriages never last when bank account changes. They didn't realize Njeri was passing just behind them, carrying a tray back to the kitchen. She heard the words. For a moment, she paused, doubt prickling. Then she shook her head. Uncle likes jokes, she told herself. David is not like that. She looked over to where he stood, laughing with friends, eyes searching for her. When he spotted her, he raised his glass in a small, private salute. Her heart settled. She chose to trust his promise and not the elder's laughter. Back in the present, the sky over Njeri's farm stretched wide and blue. Rows of vegetables stood in disciplined green lines, no longer just in a backyard, but on several acres of leased land at the valley's edge. Njeri walked between them, gumboots squelching softly in moist soil. Two workers moved ahead, cutting mature spinach and placing it into clean crates. Remember to sort by size, she reminded them. Export clients like uniform bundles. Small ones will keep for local market. She carried a clipboard, ticking boxes, quantity harvested, quality notes, expected delivery dates. At the edge of the field, a small shade structure served as her office. Inside, a second-hand laptop rested on a wooden table. Printed spreadsheets and invoices pinned to the wall fluttered in the breeze. Her phone buzzed. She checked a message. From Mombasa, fresh export shipment received. Quality excellent. Client in Dubai pleased. Can we double order next month? A smile spread across her face. She typed a quick reply, fingers moving confidently. When a worker approached with a question about fertilizer, she answered with the ease of someone who had lived this life for years, yet always kept learning. Most people still saw a poor village wife when they looked at her. They had no idea that numbers on her spreadsheets outgrew many city salaries. And she had no intention of boasting. Not yet. Months earlier, the turning point had come from a simple WhatsApp group. A local NGO had started a chat for small farmers, sharing information about better seeds, grants, and training. One night, as Njeri scrolled through messages, a flyer caught her eye, calling all vegetable farmers, looking for reliable suppliers for export, must provide consistent quality and records of production. Training offered. She hesitated. Records, she murmured. At least that part won't have. Her notebooks were filled with dates, yields, weather notes. She took pictures of her crops regularly, partly from pride, partly in case future buyers ever asked. On a leap of faith, she sent an email, her first to a business, heart hammering as she attached photos of her farm and scanned pages of her logs. Weeks passed. Then one evening, while peeling potatoes, her phone buzzed with a new email. She wiped her hands and opened it nervously. Dear Njeri, we are impressed with your record-keeping and crop quality. We'd like to offer you a place in our supplier development program. They promise training on packaging, cold chain, and access to a partner bank that offered small loans to farmers who completed their course. Njeri's hands began to shake. God, she whispered, is this how you answer silent dreams? She attended every training, often as the only village woman in a room full of men from larger farms. She listened, took notes, asked questions. When the bank officer explained their loan requirements, she opened her folder of logs and surprised him. You are better organized than some big agribusinesses, he remarked. She smiled shyly. Struggle taught me discipline, she replied. By the time she finished the program, she had a small but transformative loan, new skills, and a door to markets she had only seen on TV before. She didn't boast to elders. She just planted more. While Njeri's farm quietly grew, Uncle Juma's impatience did too. One evening, he sat in his sitting room with a group of elders, a bottle of soda sweating on the table. This boy is wasting our efforts, he complained. Still living in small rental, still bringing village girl to Christmas. Can't he see what God is offering through Tasha's family? They say they'll give capital if he marries her, another elder noted. Trucks, warehouse space. Those people eat in hotels we only pass by. Exactly, Juma said. And what does Njeri bring? Sukuma in plastic basins. They laughed. One Annie shook her head disapprovingly. I told Mama David from the start, she said. A man should not marry when he is still on Boda Boda. They just pick any girl near the road. Now see. They leaned in closer. This is what we will do, Juma declared. We will speak to the clan elders, declare that the first marriage was done without proper family consultation. We will say it was youthful mistake, easily corrected. And the village girl, someone asked. We will send her back gently, Juma replied, as if talking about returning a borrowed pot. Give her small money. She can marry one of her fellow farmers. She will understand. He smiled. By the time we finish, David will thank us, he concluded. We are elders. This is our duty, to secure the family's future. Outside the window, the lights of the city glowed. None of them wondered what Njeri might be securing for herself. They were too busy rearranging another person's life. Sunday lunch at Tasha's parents' home felt like stepping into another world. The gate opened silently onto a paved driveway lined with manicured flowers. The house rose in front of David like a hotel. Large windows, balcony, shiny roof tiles. Inside, the living room gleamed with imported furniture. A giant TV played soft background music. Art hung on the walls, abstract and expensive. Tasha floated in, greeting him with a practiced hug. David, welcome, she said brightly. Feel at home. He tried. Tasha's father shook his hand firmly. My friend Juma tells me you are hardworking, he said. That is good. We like men who can multiply what we give them. Multiply. The word both thrilled and intimidated David. At the table, as waiters served dishes with names he couldn't pronounce, the elders talked. We are like family already, Tasha's father declared. So we can speak freely. My company needs a reliable partner in logistics. I have trucks. You have knowledge. Together, we can shake this town. David nodded, imagining contracts, fuel cards, larger office. Of course, such partnership works best when families are truly joined, the man continued casually. We don't do business by half. Uncle Juma jumped in. That is why we have come, he said. Our boy here, he made small mistake. Married before he reached his level. But we have forgiven. With elders' guidance, new chapter can begin. David's throat tightened. Mistake. Tasha's mother repeated delicately. You mean his former relationship? Yes, that village arrangement, Juma said briskly. It will be handled properly. Our elders know how. You will not be troubled by it. Tasha looked at David, eyes soft. We all have past, she said. What matters is who stands beside you in your future. He forced a smile. Later, as they walked in the garden, she touched his arm. I like you, David, she said. You're different from these arrogant rich boys. With my background and your hustle, we could be power couple. Think about it. He thought about it. Too much. He returned home that evening with a full stomach and a heavier heart. In his pocket was a proposal contract draft from Tasha's father. In his mind was Njeri's laugh echoing from simpler days. The elders had presented the choice as already made. He felt himself sliding down a path he hadn't consciously chosen. That night, Njeri sat on their small couch, folding laundry. David came in later than usual, smelling faintly of cologne she didn't recognize and food he hadn't eaten at home. You're back, she said, standing. How was lunch with your mother? Fine, he replied quickly, avoiding her eyes. They made ugali and stew. She sniffed. I don't smell ugali, she said lightly. I smell something foreign. He busied himself with his shoes. We passed by a client's house, he lied. They had different food. She watched him for a moment. When were you going to tell me about this? she asked, holding up a crumpled receipt she had found in his pocket while doing laundry the day before. He glanced at it. Fancy restaurant name. 2 main dishes. 2 drinks. His mind raced. That was business, he said. One of my bosses took me out. They insisted I keep the receipt. She held his gaze. Just you and your boss? She asked softly. Shoot, he snapped. Why do you dig like investigation officer? Don't you trust me? Her shoulders dropped. I trusted you enough to ignore many things, she said quietly. But my heart is restless lately. When a woman's heart feels rain inside, she checks the roof. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. I'm tired, Njeri, he muttered. Work is stressful. Family is pressuring me. Can you just support me without question for once? She bit back the reply on her tongue, something about support that smelled like silence. Instead, she bowed her head. I will pray, she said, that whatever is hidden comes to light. For both our sakes. As he turned away, guilt flickered across his face. But he pushed it down, telling himself it would all make sense after the elders handled things. A few days later, dust swirled around a Mwangi village compound as a car pulled up. Njeri wiped her hands on her apron and stepped out of the small house. Uncle Juma emerged from the car with 2 aunties, all wrapped in heavy cloth despite the heat. Njeri, one auntie called, plastering on a smile. Our hard-working daughter. A caribou, Njeri said, masking her surprise. You didn't tell us you were coming. Elders don't need appointment to visit their children, Juma replied, walking past her toward the veranda. We sit. Bring tea if you have. She hurried to boil water, arranging cups as they settled. They sipped, making small talk about weather and harvest. Then Juma cleared his throat. My daughter, he began, we've been watching you. You're always in the shamba, always carrying manure, always chasing lorries. It is good to work hard, but a woman's first work is inside, not outside. Njeri folded her hands in her lap. I do both, she answered calmly. The house is clean, David eats, and the land feeds us. One auntie clicked her tongue. Nowadays women want to be men, she complained. This farming, this business, it makes you forget your place. When elders talk, you will answer with English from seminars. Njeri swallowed any defense. What are you trying to say? She asked respectfully. Juma leaned forward. We are elders, he said. We see further than you. City life is not for everyone. Some women are meant to shine in village. It is not shameful. Better to accept your lane early. Her heart stuttered. Are you saying I should leave? She asked quietly. No one is saying that. Juma lied smoothly. We are only preparing your heart. Sometimes life changes. You must be ready to follow elders' decisions without noise. One auntie patted her knee. If anything happens, she said, remember we love you. We will give you something small to start again. You're a strong girl. You will manage. The visit left like a cloud after raining in only one corner. When the car drove away, dust settled back down slowly. Njeri stood alone in the yard, the echo of their words louder than the fading engine. That night, after the workers had gone and the house was quiet, Njeri sat on the edge of the bed. Tears slid silently down her face. She had always respected elders, but respect felt heavy when it came wrapped in contempt. On the wall above the small desk hung an old, laminated paper, her late father's favorite proverb, written in his careful handwriting. Shamba hate harali yul aniyelma. The land does not insult the one who cultivates it. She stared at it for a long moment. Then she wiped her eyes. If people cannot see my value, she whispered, the soil does. The numbers in this book do. God does. I will not beg to sit where they keep pulling my chair away. She opened her ledger. Rows of figures met her eyes. Increased yields, growing orders, steady payments from the exporter. Let them think I'm only a girl with Jim, she thought. One day, they will realize whose food they laughed over. Her pain did not disappear, but it hardened into resolve. Instead of spending the night imagining arguments and pleas, she drafted a business plan, updating goals. Under the title, Njeri Fresh Farms, 3-year vision, she wrote, "Whether alone or with David, this farm will grow. No elder's decision can uproot what God has planted." The months that followed blurred into a determined rhythm. We see Njeri at a bank counter, signing loan papers with careful attention. The bank officer smiles. "Your repayment record from the pilot loan is excellent," he says. "We are comfortable increasing your limit." We see her standing in a chilly room at the exporter's warehouse, wearing a hairnet and gloves, learning how to check cold room temperatures. We see her hiring 2 more workers, showing them how to harvest without damaging delicate leaves. We see irrigation pipes being laid through her fields, powered by a small solar pump. Her idea after attending an agribusiness workshop in the city. We see a truck with Mombasa Fresh Exports logo backing up to her farm, pallets being loaded with her branded crates. Njeri fresh from soil to soul. We see her laptop screen showing an email. "We are pleased to inform you that your produce has been well received by our clients in Dubai and Doha." Attached is the new contract proposal for increased quantities. Late at night, she sits at the same small desk, calculating profits. For the first time, the numbers at the bottom of the page carry more zeros than she ever thought possible. Enough to dream of buying land rather than renting. Enough to replace the cracked tiles in her in-law's kitchen, if they ever allowed her to. She smiles, imagining telling David, "They think you married, poor woman," she rehearses in her head. But see what God has done. It's something in her holds back, waiting for the right moment. She doesn't know the elders are planning a different kind of surprise. On a bright Saturday afternoon, Tasha's parents' mansion buzzed with a quieter, exclusive celebration. Under a white tent in the garden, a small group of relatives from both families gathered. Most of David's extended clan, none from Njeri's side. Flowers decorated the arch. A pastor stood with a Bible. "This is just an introduction," Tasha's father said cheerfully. "Not full wedding. But before we do business, we want God to stamp his seal." David swallowed hard as a ring box was pressed into his hand. Uncle Juma beamed. "Say yes, my son," he whispered. "You're not divorcing Njeri. She's just being moved back to her level. This is upgrade." David's tongue felt heavy. He looked at Tasha, radiant in a lace dress, smiling expectantly. In his mind, images flashed. Njeri in mud-splattered gumboots, laughing as she slipped in the field. Njeri carefully counting coins to pay their first rent, insisting he keep more for bus fare. The pastor cleared his throat. "David Mwangi," he said, "do you accept Tasha as the woman you will honor?" And the room waited. David's jaw clenched. "Yes," he heard himself say. "I accept." Applause. Tasha slipped a new ring onto his finger. Cameras flashed. Tasha's cousin recorded a short video for Snapchat. Later, as guests ate grilled meat and posed for pictures, David stood alone near the flowers, staring at the ring. He felt like he had signed a contract with 2 pens, one in his hand, the other in fears. Online, Tasha's post went up. "Today marks the beginning of something beautiful. Hashtag family introduction, hashtag blessed." She did not tag David. There was no need. In their minds, the village chapter was already closed. Back in the village, Njeri sat on a wooden stool outside her house, sorting beans with her cousin, Wanja. Their phones buzzed occasionally with farm group chats and church announcements. Then Wanja gasped. Hi and I, Nini," she exclaimed, tilting her phone toward Njeri. On the screen was Tasha's Instagram post. Tasha in lace, David beside her in matching outfit, both smiling, holding hands, a pastor's hand visible between them. The caption glowed beneath. Njeri's vision tunneled for a moment. The sound of bees, the smell of soil, the chatter of neighbors, all faded. Her cousin's voice seemed far away. They say this was in town, Wanja muttered. People in the group are saying it's David's new fiancée. But you're his wife. Surely this is Photoshop. Njeri forced herself to breathe. Maybe it's business partnership event, she said weakly. People wear matching clothes for all kinds of things now. But her heart knew. The ring on his finger, the pastor's presence, the smiles. Her hands began to shake. Wanja touched her arm. Are you okay? She asked. Njeri closed her eyes. For a few minutes, she allowed herself to feel everything. Betrayal, humiliation, rage, grief. Tears slid down silently, falling onto the beans. Then she wiped them away with the back of her hand. Wanja, she said quietly, go home, rest. I need to think. Should we call Mama? Wanja offered. Njeri shook her head. No, she replied. I will go to them. Let elders say whatever they have to my face. When her cousin left, she sat alone, the evening sun casting long shadows around her. This is not the end God wrote for me, she whispered. If they want to remove me like weed, let them first see how deep my roots go. 2 days later, as Njeri prepared crates for an early delivery, her phone rang. It was Mama David. My daughter, Mama said, voice stiff. There will be a family meeting at our home on Saturday. We need you to be there. Njeri's hands paused. What is the meeting about, Mama? She asked, though she already suspected. Elders want to talk, Mama replied shortly. It is important. Come respectful. The line clicked off. Njeri stared at the phone. Sugar-coated bullets still kill. She took a deep breath and went to her bedroom. Quietly, she placed some clothes in a bag, then opened her drawer and pulled out a large, well-organized folder, the same one holding her business registration, contracts, and bank statements. She slid it into the bag beneath the clothes. If they insist on measuring my worth in money, she murmured, then let us put all the measures on the table. Saturday afternoon, the Mwangi parents' compound hummed with guests. Goats bleated in a corner, unaware one of them would soon be dinner. Laughter floated from the kitchen where aunties stirred simmering pots. In the main sitting room, elders arranged themselves like judges. Tasha and her parents occupied a place of honor on one side, outfits impeccable. A tray of tea biscuits sat untouched on the table. David sat near the doorway, leg bouncing. Relax, Juma scolded. We are doing what is best for you. When your company gets big contract, you will thank us. David stared at the floor. Tasha adjusted her necklace. So this first wife, she asked lightly, what is she like? Auntie Ruth snorted. Village girl, she replied. Quiet, not educated much. Good at cooking and digging. She will go back to that life. Is her level? They chuckled. Mama David sat in the corner, face drawn. She had argued quietly for Njeri in earlier discussions, but her voice had been drowned by Uncle's booming certainty. Now she watched the preparations with a knot in her stomach. God, she prayed silently, if we are wrong, show us today. The air vibrated with a mixture of anticipation and arrogance. They were about to pluck a life from the tree as if removing a dried leaf. They did not expect that leaf to still carry green. A small matatu dropped Njeri at the gate. She adjusted her simple but clean blue dress, smoothed flyaway strands of hair, and walked in, carrying her modest bag. Children playing in the courtyard paused to greet her. Auntie Njeri, they called. She forced a smile for them. Inside the sitting room, conversation died when she stepped through the doorway. Caribou, Mama David said quietly. Njeri greeted each elder respectfully, bowing her head, even when some offered only curt nods. Her eyes flicked briefly to David. He could not meet them. She saw Tasha, elegant and composed, sitting close to him. In that moment, everything inside Njeri became very still. They pointed her to a chair slightly apart from the main group, as if the space itself had been instructed not to treat her as center. She sat, shoulders relaxed but gaze alert. The stage was set. They thought she had come as defendant. They did not know she had also come as witness. Uncle Juma cleared his throat, smiling as if about to deliver good news. "My children," he began, looking around, "we are gathered today out of love. Love for David, love for family, love for future generations." He gestured toward Njeri briefly. When David married the first time, he said, it was in haste. He was young, struggling, full of fire. We allowed it because we did not want him alone in the city. Njeri, you did your part. You cooked, you washed, you even dug in the shamba. For that, we appreciate you. Some aunties nodded condescendingly. But now, Juma continued, God has lifted our son. He's a businessman. He needs a partner who can stand in boardrooms, not only in markets. Our eyes have seen that you are not at the same level. It is not insult. It is fact. He turned toward Tasha and her parents, smiling broadly. The Mwangi family has been blessed to meet people of honor, he said. This is Tasha, educated, polished, from family with resources that can push David higher. We believe this is the wife heaven had in mind all along. And Annie chimed in. Sometimes God allows first attempt, she said, so we can see what we really need. Njeri is like rehearsal. Tasha is the real performance. Soft laughter. Njeri's fingers dug into her dress. Juma faced her again. My daughter, he said, tone falsely gentle. There is no need for drama. These things happen. Men rise. Marriages change. We will not leave you empty-handed. We will give you something small. You can return to your father's home or stay here in Shamba. You are strong. You will manage. Throughout the speech, David remained silent. He felt each word like a stone thrown at the woman he had once sworn to protect. But fear of disappointing his uncles and losing promised contracts glued his mouth shut. It is a terrible thing when greed ties a man's tongue. And Annie slid the small envelope across the table toward Njeri. In here is some money to start fresh, she said. Maybe buy a goat, open kiosk. We are not wicked. We just want peace. Tasha's mother added, in a tone trying to sound kind, you are still young. You will find someone of your level. Maybe a good farmer. This is better than staying in a marriage where you slow each other down. Njeri looked at the envelope. She thought of the nights she went without new shoes to help David pay his course fees. She thought of early mornings alone on the field while he slept after late work. She thought of all the meals she cooked for these very elders, never once being told she was rehearsal. A quiet strength settled over her. She did not touch the envelope. Instead, she stood up slowly. Every eye followed her. Juma frowned. Do not start crying now, he warned. We have spoken. Accept with humility. I'm not going to cry. Uncle, Njeri said softly, I came to show respect. I will leave it here. But before I answer your decision, allow me to add something to the table. She picked up her bag. No one noticed the small signal she gave toward the doorway. Njeri reached in her bag and pulled out the thick folder. She walked to the center of the room and set it down firmly on the table, covering the little envelope. The sound made the tea cups tremble. What is that? Annie Ruth asked, suspicious. Njeri met Uncle Juma gesh. You have spoken many words about levels, she said. You have measured me by the shoes I wear, the soil under my nails. Today, let us measure with something you respect more. She opened the folder, revealing neatly arranged papers. At that moment, A man in a crisp shirt and tie stepped quietly into the room, standing near the door. Most eyes were on the documents, so at first no one noticed him. "These are the registration papers for Njeri Fresh Farms Limited," she said calmly. "A company registered 2 years ago, of which I am the sole director." The room stirred. She continued before they could interrupt. "These are bank statements from Equity Agricultural Division," she said, flipping pages, showing turnover for the last 12 months. Columns of figures stared back at the elders. Numbers do not care about accents. Numbers do not bow to gossip. She turned another page. "These," she added, "are copies of export contracts between my company and Mombasa Fresh Exports, confirming regular shipments of vegetables to clients in Dubai and Doha. You see their stamp here." She pointed to the blue logos. Uncle Juma's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Tasha leaned forward despite herself. "Export," she murmured. Njeri straightened. "For years, you have looked at me and seen only village wife," she said. "You never bothered to ask what I was building with the land you despised. You sat at tables eating polo and chapati I cooked with money from these very contracts, then laughed that I bring nothing to this family." The man at the door finally spoke. "Excuse me," he said politely. "Perhaps this is the right moment to introduce myself. I am Mr. Kamau, branch manager at Equity Agricultural. I came at Njeri's request to confirm that these documents are genuine." The elders stiffened. Mama David's eyes grew wide. Kamau stepped closer. "Her account is one of our best among small-scale farmers in this region," he said. "Her repayment record on loans is perfect. In fact, we recently increased her limit because of consistent growth. If I may speak plainly, her monthly profit is higher than what most middle managers in Nairobi take home." Stunned silence. He placed his own stamped letter on the table. "I can leave this for your records," he added. No one objected. Njeri looked around, her voice steady. "I did not come here to boast," she said. "If I wanted to shame anyone, I could have posted all this online the way some people post introductions. But I came quietly because I still respect this family, even when it does not respect me." She looked at David. "When we were sleeping on a mattress on the floor," she said, "I was with you. When you had no fuel for the boda boda, I walked to market instead of taking matatu. When you were studying at night, I sold extra vegetables to buy your exam books." He lowered his head, tears gathering. "I dreamed we would stand in front of your elders one day and show them what we built together," she continued. "A house bought with our sweat. A farm feeding not only us, but many others. I have been waiting for the right time to surprise you," she swallowed, emotion flickering, "with the news that we now have enough for a deposit on land for our own home." She held up one last document, a pre-approval letter from the bank for a mortgage. "But instead," she said quietly, "I saw a different surprise on my cousin's phone. You in matching outfit with another woman, ring on finger," elders laughing. Her eyes shimmered, but she did not let tears fall. "So understand me today," she finished. "If you send me away, do not do it saying I am poor or that I brought nothing. Say the truth, that you chose glitter you did not earn over gold that grew slowly in your own soil." Her words hung in the air like a challenge. Truth has a way of rearranging a room. Suddenly, the chairs did not feel as stable. The elders, who had sat so confidently in judgment, now found themselves quietly judged by the very evidence they had insisted on valuing. Uncle Juma coughed, but no sound came out. His earlier speeches about levels now looked thin in the face of bank statements. Auntie Ruth stared at a page that showed monthly deposits far higher than her own small shop's profit. Mama David put a trembling hand to her mouth. "All this time," she whispered, "you were carrying this alone." Tasha's father shifted uncomfortably. "Njeri," he said slowly, "why did you not tell anyone you were doing business at this level?" She met his gaze calmly. "Because you never asked," she replied. From the first day you met me, you decided I was wallpaper. Why decorate the wall with respect? A few aunties looked away, ashamed. Tasha's face twisted. You should have been honest from the start, she snapped, insecurities flaring. Instead, you move around looking like ordinary shamba woman, making the rest of us seem like gold diggers. Njeri raised an eyebrow. I did not hide, she said. I simply didn't announce. There is difference. If you feel exposed, maybe it is your intentions that were naked, not my bank account. A few cousins coughed, hiding smiles. Tasha turned to David, eyes blazing. You said she was just housewife, she accused. You told me you were stuck because of her, that she has no ambition. Do you know how foolish I look now? He opened his mouth, then closed it, unable to defend himself. Tasha's father stood. This arrangement clearly has complications, he said stiffly. We will reconsider business and personal discussions. We will not be party to drama. He nodded to his wife. Let's go. Tasha grabbed her clutch, shooting David one last furious look. Next time, she hissed, don't use me to fight your courage battles. They swept out, leaving behind the faint smell of expensive perfume and shattered assumptions. In their wake, the room felt strangely quieter. Not empty, just freshly humbled. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then David slid off his chair and sank to his knees before Njeri, hands trembling. Njeri, he choked, I am so sorry. She looked down at him, expression unreadable. I let them talk, he continued, voice cracking. I listened when they said you were holding me back. I forgot who held me when I had nothing. I let greed and fear and pride blind me. I don't deserve you. She studied him for a long beat. Mistakes can be forgiven, she said quietly. Patterns cannot. What you did was not one mistake. It was many small choices that led to this big betrayal. He nodded miserably. I know, he whispered. Give me punishment, anything. Just don't walk away without telling me what to do to make it right. She sighed. Making it right, she said, is between you and God. Making it safe is between you and me. She lifted him gently to sit on a chair, not the floor. First, she said firmly, there will be no more secret meetings about my life. If elders want to discuss our marriage, I will be there. I am not goat to be sold behind the kraal. Juma flinched. Second, she continued, we will not live under your family's roof anymore. Love them, visit them, but our decisions must be ours. I cannot build a house with you if other hands keep trying to rearrange the foundation. Mama David nodded slowly, tears in her eyes. You are right, she murmured. We allowed our fear of poverty to make us meddle. Forgive me. Third, Njeri added, looking at David, if we continue together, you will speak of me in every room as your wife and partner, not your burden. If someone asks what you bring to the table, you will say, I came with a woman who grows tables. A faint, nervous chuckle rippled through the room. And finally, she said softly, you will go with me tomorrow to the chief and the pastor. You will tell them yourself that I am your only wife. You will remove every doubt you allowed to spread. He nodded vigorously, tears streaming. Yes, he said, I will. I swear. She looked at the elders. I do not require your permission to stay married, she told them. But I would like your blessing for us to start again on honest ground. If you cannot bless that, at least do not curse it. Shamefaced, many of them murmured apologies. Even Uncle Juma cleared his throat. Njeri, he said awkwardly, my tongue ran faster than my wisdom. I misjudged you. Forgive an old man who thought money only wears a suit. She inclined her head. I forgive, she said. But remember this day. Next time you see a woman in gumboots, ask what she is building before you offer her small envelope. Time moved forward, carrying both hurt and healing with it. We see Njeri and David standing on a new piece of land, surveying an empty plot. Behind them, a sign reads, "Future home of Njeri David Mwangi." They argue playfully about where the kitchen should be. "Closer to the back," she insists. "I need easy path to the shamba." "Front," he counters, "so you can show these town people that real wealth smells like chapati and soil, not just air-conditioned offices." They laugh. We see them later on the expanded farm, now with a small office building, storage rooms, and several workers. David coordinates loading for local deliveries. Njeri oversees export shipments. On the side of a pickup, the logo reads, "Njeri Fresh Farms Mwangi Logistics, Partners in Growth." We see Mama David arriving at the farm with some church women, proudly pointing out the irrigation system. "My daughter-in-law designed this," she says. "She's the one feeding half of you. Respect her." We see Njeri hosting a workshop under a tree, teaching village women about record-keeping, contracts, and the power of collective bargaining. "Do not let them tell you your work is just shamba," she urges them. "Food is foundation of every house. Without you, their meetings would be hungry." We see a TV crew interviewing Njeri and David about youth in agribusiness. Tasha, walking through a mall, glances up at the screen, sees them, and pauses. On TV, David says, "My wife believed in this vision before anyone else did. I'm just grateful she gave me a second chance to walk it with her." Tasha watches for a moment, then turns away, a mix of regret and grudging respect on her face. We see Njeri in church, hand raised, thanking God publicly not for her husband's change, but for her own strength. If you are Njeri in your own story, the voice asks the listener, what would you do? When those who doubted you finally see your value, would you stay and enjoy the respect you deserved all along? Or leave and protect your peace somewhere else? And if you are David, it continues, pressed by family to trade character for connections. Will you remember that a rich spouse with no loyalty is a short-term investment, but a poor partner with vision can grow wealth no bank can measure? Never despise small beginnings just because they live in a small house or wear dusty shoes, the voice says. Sometimes the person you call village is the one feeding the city. Sometimes the wife you almost discarded is the reason your name will mean something in 10 years. "Where are you watching from today?" the narrator asks softly. "Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Kampala, Lagos, Accra, London, Toronto, New York, or a village nobody writes on a map?" Type your city in the comments so we can see how far Njeri's story has traveled. And if this tale reminded you to respect quiet builders, to question unjust traditions, and to protect your own value even when others don't see it, the voice concludes, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who needs to remember that being called poor doesn't mean you are empty. Sometimes it just means the harvest hasn't been announced yet. The final image shows Njeri walking through her fields at sunset, rows of greens stretching behind her, David at her side, carrying a crate. From the edge of the farm, you can still faintly hear elders talking. But this time, their words sound less like judgment and more like admiration.